It makes it harder to.
All right, we're ready to go. Welcome, everybody. This is a TSU Department of Art and Design, and we're here today for the Pre-Pro Development Series. It's one of our lecture series. I'm calling it the Gallery Edition. We have Katie Shaw from Red Arrow Gallery in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome, Katie.
Hi.
And then we have Sheila Urévbu from Art Village Gallery in Memphis, Tennessee. Welcome, Sheila. Thank you for joining us. I do want to take a minute. I haven't done this since we've been digitally meeting, but I was doing it in the gallery where we take a minute to acknowledge the traditional indigenous lands, the inhabitants of these lands. So I'm just going to read something short and we'll do like a little minute of silence. We pay respects to our elders, past and present. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today. Please join us in uncovering such truths as any and all public events. This is a small step towards honoring Native communities and enacting a much larger project of decolonization and recolonization, along with a way to connect us back to protecting Mother Earth and the life the Earth sustains. All right. I don't know how long that is. It's always like interesting to be like, can I be silent and take this in? But I love when it does happen. Yeah. Welcome everybody, Gallery Edition. I'm excited. We've got our women gallerist here. Yeah, let's start with describing your galleries. What are your spaces like? How do you present yourself and your gallery space to the world? And whoever wants to start.
Well, I'm in Memphis, as you mentioned, I believe, and Art Village Gallery has been in the South Main Arts District for over 20 years, brick and mortar space. And I am married to an artist, and my husband, deserves a lot of credit for starting the gallery, although he is no longer a part of the gallery because he wanted to paint full time. But he did start the South Main Arts District here in the city, and also the Art Walk that we are celebrating over 20 years almost now. But the art gallery, so Art Village Gallery is a contemporary, fine art gallery, and our primary mission is really supporting and showcasing the work of artists who've been overlooked or disadvantaged historically. So basically, artists of color. And we, and so our mission, and so we're mission based, very mission based art gallery. And it's for us all about culture and diversity. And we, you know, really just look for, and my husband's Nigerian, by the way. So that's where that lovely last name, Courtney, came from. And so when he came here to the city after graduating and getting his MFA, had a very difficult time finding a space. This was back in the late 80s, finding a space that would showcase his artwork. And so he ultimately decided to open a small studio on Beale Street here in Memphis, downtown, and then ultimately opened a brick and mortar gallery where we are today. And the mission started back then with him. I'm just carrying forward the mission because he had a heart to help other artists similar to him that were faced with his same dilemma of finding it difficult to showcase their art. You know, in galleries. And so that's how the mission was born. That's how the gallery was born. And that's what I carry forth in the work that I do in the gallery today.
That's great. Okay, so we're in Nashville, and the Red Arrow has been in Nashville for 6 years. Originally, I started the gallery in Joshua Tree, California in 2006. Quick background that way was just basically there was no gallery in this little desert village that we lived in, and there were a lot of artists that lived there part-time or full-time, and so we kind of created an environment that became a community hub, a spot, a place to celebrate artists and celebrate the community together, because it's a very small village with not a lot of things to do. So it became a kind of a cultural outlet for the people that lived there. It wasn't anything of what I'm doing now. It was kind of open one day a week and celebrating the artists. The artists supported each other. The community got together and got dressed up once a month and looked at art and had a party. And so it was really nice. Fast forward to Nashville, I moved here in 2013 with my daughter who was under 2, and kind of laid out the land a little bit, moved to East Nashville, kind of checked out the art scenes everywhere and found that there was the downtown area of art galleries and then the new Wedgwood, Houston area where it was kind of bubbling up, but there was nothing in East Nashville it's East Nashville where I should say a lot of the artists live. There was nothing in the neighborhood for that reason, for artists to and people to visit to see contemporary work. So we decided to start it there, and I had a space that was available to me next to a friend's record store, and we opened up in 2014 there, and it was a very small space that since with I'm sure all the cities, a lot of places, but especially Nashville, development is huge and people are buying up old buildings. And so we got kind of pushed out of that space, which ended up being a good thing because we found this much larger space that we have, big, tall, high ceilings, big garage door. And we're strategically here. Nashville, East Nashville is changing, building, the neighborhood's changing. But we're dedicated to staying in this side of the river, and we're hoping that more spaces like ours open up as well. I deal with emerging artists. That's mostly who I show. I don't have if you look at my website, you can see that I love abstract painting. That's definitely, you can see I have a lot of painters like that, but there isn't a certain type of work. We accept submissions always, and I respond to almost every one that I receive. We've gotten more exposure, since we've opened here and been open for 6 years. So there might be one or two that I miss sometimes, but for the most part, I try to give artists feedback, even if they can't work with us directly because they don't make a fit with our roster. But I try to suggest, well, maybe you should look over here, or maybe you should check here. My mother was an artist. She never had an opportunity to show in a gallery or or sell her work or a museum or anything. So I think my mission has always been kind of to support and build the careers of young and emerging artists. And kind of the same as you, we want to give opportunity to those that perhaps cannot get into the big, the bigger galleries. And the biggest part of what I would say the Red Arrow is for me is just community. And I really love to open the space. Like tomorrow, we're going to have a vote event. We're going to open it up to the community and give voice to people who don't have the voice that they don't have the location to kind of show their work. So yeah, I hope that covers it. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. I love that because I, as an artist, love that we can be problem solvers. And, Sheila, your husband had a problem. He solved it by, opening up a gallery. And you too, Katie, like, how do we create more community here with the artists that are here and continue, to create community. So how long did you know you were going to be, involved in the arts or a gallerist? And like, how long have you been doing this work?
Well, I always tell people that art found me. I always had a passive interest in art, but when you meet and marry an artist, that passive interest becomes, very active. And I just, I guess you would say, just embraced it, more so. And I would say it was 2004 that I part time, became, in a gallerist and doing things. And because I worked a full time job, I mean, I was a career HR leader for over 20 years. That was my job. And my husband always would tug on my little coattail and say, "Don't you want to quit your job and run the gallery full time?" And year after year, I would say, "No, I'm good with part time," you know. And I'm thinking, well, I mean, we need health insurance, What about this and what about that? And so anyway, and so I've been full time, left my job, guys. I made the big plunge, took the plunge, and decided not to go back to corporate America. So this was in 2015. No, yeah, 2014. And so 2020, still here, full time. And it's been a wonderful, amazing journey. It has been so fulfilling. I'm so glad I followed my, heart. And it's not easy, of course, being an entrepreneur and running a gallery full time, but it is so fulfilling and rewarding. And so I would say part time from 2014 or so. I'm sorry, 2004,
Mm-hmm.
and full time from 2014.
Nice.
Pretty similar. I fell into it. There was no, like I said, there was no. I don't have a formal arts background at all. I'm an appreciator of arts. I'd always gone to, I have artist friends, and as I said, my mother was an artist. But we just saw a need, and there was a building in Joshua Tree that was available that had a huge, 18-foot red arrow in front of it. That was an old historical wooden sign, and we said, let's rent this building and we're going to call it the Red Arrow Gallery. And so that's just how it started. It's I didn't know, and I will say as well, I have a full-time job as well as this too. And the gallery sustains itself, but the gallery is my passion. I'm a full-time salesperson. I sell mainframe software, IBM software for mainframes. And I've been doing that for 19 years, but I work out of my home. So I'm able to work out of the gallery. I have a lot of independence and freedom that way, to kind of do both things. But the goal of the gallery is for it to be able to sustain myself as well, and maybe be something that I can hand off to my daughter one day. But really, we're always climbing. It's not the easiest business to own, but I love it so much. And so I know, I just have faith that every year does get better. Every year we sell more. Every year we take on more artists that we're excited about and grow and learn from. But yeah, I just fell into it and fell in love with it, basically.
Well, we need y'all. Artists need an artist and others to cheerlead us along, because sometimes we want to be in the studio just buried and working away, and so it's an important way to get our art out there. So what do you look for when you're bringing an artist in, or looking for art for a show? Because they might work.
Katie was saying her favorite, what art she's drawn to. Certainly, I am, and I'm very drawn to abstract expressions, magical realism, figurative is my jam. That is all about that. And so that's what and also subject matter. I love a good story. I love when an artist can connect his or her artwork with something I am really drawn to. So social, political stuff, my antenna just stands up 10 feet. And see, and then it sort of lends itself to the piece of the gallery's mission by being so into, culture and diversity, and what brings people together, and educating people about these issues of other cultures, and what goes on in, certain communities. And so when the artist's work speaks to that mission or that subject matter, and it is presented in a way, that lends itself to the type of work that we, carry, then I'm all about it. I get so excited about that. So those are sort of my my wheels start turning, and I get really excited when I see that come together.
I don't know how to describe it. It's just a gut feeling, right? I see, if I see it and I connect with it, then I want to see it further, right? Because typically submissions come in digitally, and that's what I look at first. I don't look at the artist's name or their bio or their CV or their statement. Nothing. I don't look at that. If I have a guttural reaction to the work, and then and also keeping in mind too that you can't have a roster that has a lot of the same type of artists, right? You have to be able to show, each of the different, I have the abstract painter, I have the sculptor, I have a folk artist, that kind of thing. But really it's just I just feel it. And then from there it's, let's do a studio visit. And now obviously that's a little different. But after that, if I have the guttural reaction, and then the studio visit confirms the guttural reaction, and then the communication with the artist is on point in a way that we feel like we can be friends almost, and I want to, invite you to my table for dinner, that's the happy marriage that is the long-term relationship. And it doesn't always happen, and sometimes you have to try out each other to see about how good you work together, and you find that some make a fit forever, and some you just test out your relationship and adjust as you need to. But yeah, it's not any style. It's just a feeling, really.
Katie brings up a great point about personality or meeting the artist in person, and a click there too. So it's not only just the work,
yeah,
but artists. And I was on a podcast earlier this week with the artist advisor, and we were talking about the importance of artists, engagement and their energy level and their interest level and their ability to have a conversation, and just, that just their personality, and really having energy and positivity and these things.
And how easy is it to work with you or not, right? How much do I have to do, and how much, I'm sure you agree with that. Even if you get along so well, and you have to handhold, and there's so much extra work to do, then it makes it hard, Yeah.
So that gets to the question, how do you like an artist to approach you to bring their work in?
Well, like now it's kind of difficult, right? But so I think the standard way, even now and before, has been electronically. And of course, I always welcome an artist, referral, and then just out of the blue submissions. Um, I always like to tell artists this. So when you do approach, when you do, make sure you do your homework, make sure you do your due diligence. If you are an artist that does landscapes only and paints that, and you see no artist or nothing, or that's probably not the best avenue for you. Visit to the gallery maybe and just walk around and see how things feel there. See the reception you get as just a guest in the gallery. Are they, do they say hi? Are they friendly? Are they speaking to you? But technically and logistically, I am all about first impressions. Even electronically, when you're submitting your portfolio or your work, first impressions say a lot about you as an artist. Even if you're sending a blind submission, and I will share a little secret here. A lot of us, may put on our websites, oh, we're currently not accepting submissions. Send it anyway. if you send it in, if you dare to send it anyway, make sure it is not sloppy. Make sure your images are very nice. If you're going to put a bio in there, make sure it's well written. Make sure your CV is nice. But for sure, make sure your images are very nicely done. And for installation images, you get bonus here with me. But at that extra step,
Mhm.
really shows that you have a level of professionalism, that you are treating your business like a business. And so your approach really matters. I think it's all about presentation. I don't really have you know, the preferred way to reach out, but when you do, because I mean, I can count on one hand the number of artists that I've worked with who were just extra professional in the way they presented their original introduction to me. And that got my attention. I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And then it makes you say and feel like I would love to work with this person, because if they put this much effort into, this, then, you know, and then I get a lot of Instagram inquiries and things, and I don't mind that at all. And artists want to know. And so I'll say, send me 10 images and tell me about yourself. Send me your bio or send me, your resume. And sometimes I don't hear back, and sometimes I do. And so for the ones I don't hear back from, it makes me feel like, okay, well, there was a little work involved in that, and maybe you didn't want to do the work. But again, this is your career, so you must treat your profession and your business just like a business. So, um, that's what I would say. I don't really have a particular way, but it's when you do submit the thing you're going to submit, it must be something that I can easily understand and read, and then we can, talk about.
Yeah, professional and presentation go a long way.
I agree with all of those things. And yeah, I definitely prefer digital first. And because we accept submissions, it's kind of a hidden link on the website, it's, but we spell out what we want. And that's, if I'm telling you, use Dropbox, send it to this email, tell me this. And if you do it that way, then I'm definitely going to look. I definitely don't like it. And I'm sure it's really uncomfortable when artists bring work to the gallery without, completely unannounced. It's not fun to do that at all. So, and I've said that, everyone knows that. But yeah, Instagram is becoming a thing too. I think that there's a way for artists to interact with Instagram without even, direct messaging the gallery. Just, by liking, and I will look sometimes if someone's, paying attention to what we're showing, and I see the same person, throughout a period of time, interacting with a post that we do. I'll look at their profile, and I've connected with artists that way as well. And that's it's kind of a sneaky backdoor kind of way to get our attention. And I think that's a good thing to do as well before you make, and it's happened before as well, where that kind of interaction has happened on Instagram, and then the artist a couple weeks later will submit, and I'll say, oh my gosh, I saw this work earlier and I really liked it. And that's great. They submitted. So now we can have a conversation.
All right, so now let's talk about contracts, splits, other galleries. I guess first contracts. Do every artist that you bring into the gallery, do you sign a contract with? What do contracts sort of look like for a gallery artist sort of relationship?
Well, the answer for me is yes. Um, and I guess the only artist I probably don't have a contract with is my husband, and I probably should have one.
He's sort of owner though. Part owner maybe.
I do, and it is a simple. I think it's pages. The third page would be the inventory sheet, and we do have that. And so, it covers basically, your basics. It's an exhibition agreement. What exhibition you're going to be in, how many paintings you're submitting, even down to what the sizes are. Because I want these paintings in this show, so it documents all that. And then who's paying for what, you know, from shipping, commission split. Here for me, it's 50-50. Um, and it goes on to, you know, transportation, stretching, framing, all those details, copyright, um, you know, gosh, what else is in there? How long the agreement lasts, what to do to end the agreement, um, and I think those are the main points. I'm sure I'm missing something, but it's about 2 pages for me. And I am so glad I'm telling you that I have contracts because I have had a couple of, I would say a couple. I know one issue that just really sticks out when FedEx uh, did something funky with one of the shipments. And you know what? It was right there covered in the contract what we would do if something like that happened. So I think having contracts is very important, and it's a, you know, this is our business, and for the artists, this is your business, and so we want to be very clear about what the agreements are and what the relationship is, and you know, I've never really had any issues. I do think, and the advice I would give to any artist is that, because we mentioned commission, so our commission is 50-50, and it's so understand from your gallery. So, what am I getting? What is my responsibility? And what's your responsibility? So the way I look at it is it's your job to, as the artist, to create this amazing masterpiece for me to try to sell it. And that's my responsibility. And so what is this partnership about, and understanding the gallery's role and how we are, I don't like to use that word earn, but how we're earning this commission. And you know, I do collector private views before the opening. I do mailers. I do collector catalogs. I do exhibition cards. That is a design fee, printing fee, you know, opening receptions, wine, hors d'oeuvres, linen, and um, and then the programming that happens after that. You know, are you doing a film screening about that's in concert or in dialogue with whatever the artist is? Are you bringing more people into the gallery? So the artist needs to understand and feel comfortable with the partnership. Okay, this is what the gallery is doing. They're working really hard to build programming around my show, and they're, you know, they have an artist talk for me, and they have this for me. That we do exhibition dinners where we invite a chef that's from the same culture as the artist, and we invite people, and we talk about the art, and many times art sells, you know, as a result of those experiences and opportunities, and it's facilitated, and we have a dialogue about whatever the subject matter is for that evening. And I think the artist, because I know that there are some artists who are opposed to working with galleries. They want to do it on their own, and they want to you know, um, be the artist and their own promoter. And so but when you don't have that physical space, and when you don't have the collector base, and when you don't have the contact list and the email lists like the gallery does, and that's what you're really getting in exchange for, you know, working with this gallery. I commend artists who are able to do it on their own and able to sustain their business and paint, and then go out and find the collectors and promote themselves as artists. That is amazing. Um, and that in today's digital space of Instagram, it's absolutely very beneficial for artists as well, to just self promote. But if you're going to work with a gallery, I think it's great for artists to understand and ask questions of the gallery. What is our relationship entail? What does our partnership entail? And understanding what they're getting.
Yeah, definitely. I think we lost Katie there for a second.
Yeah,
But
that-
go ahead. What'd you say?
something must have happened to her connection.
No. All of that made me think of sort of my next question was going to be, what is your ideal way for an artist to interact once that they are, you know, and say they live in Memphis, because I know that you are working with people all over the diaspora and from Africa. So they might not be able to travel, but if they are, say, in Memphis or able to come, you know, what are ways that ideal artist relationship that they engage with the show, or
Goodness, they better engage. Oh, I have been so embarrassed a few times, because back to what Katie and I were saying originally, when you first meet the artist, it's important to meet the artist because, you know, at the end of the day, this is their business, this is your business. And if someone's going to buy your artwork, you have to be comfortable with talking to them.
and we're not always the best at, you know.
Times aren't always, you know, very engaged in that process. And I get that. But my expectations, and so we talk about, we talk about everything. And so here's what you're going to have to do. Here's, you know, we're going to do an artist talk. Here are the questions. Do you have any questions that I shouldn't ask? Do you have any questions I should ask? I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable. So let's, you know, make sure we work on this together. And then during the opening, and I do get a lot of international artists who are able to come, and they're usually very excited. Sometimes they're not so excited, you know, in terms of their energy and all that. But they, you know, my expectations would be that, because I take people from the floor, you know, in the gallery, and I'll bring them up to the artists. And these are my collectors who I feel like, you know, may be interested in learning more. And I'm like, oh, just a minute, let me introduce you to. And so I'm doing that all night. And I let them know I'm going to be bringing people over to you, and, you know, just have a brief conversation, introduce yourself, tell them a little bit about yourself. Um, and so sometimes that works really great. And sometimes just the look on the artist's face can just be kind of, um, you know, don't approach me, and I don't want to talk right now. And I'm like, no, don't do that.
You're like, you're at work right now.
Yeah, you're at work. And so those things are very important. It's very important because you want to sell your work. Collectors are all about getting to know you and your story, and you have to tell the story. I can, but they would much rather hear it from you. And I get it, because I'm exhausted a lot of times at the end of the evening. It's all I can do is come home and just throw myself in the bed. But it's you know, it's the line of work that we're in, you know.
Yeah, totally. Um, we'll keep moving on. If we get Katie back in, we get Katie back in.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Sorry about that, y'all.
Oh, there she is. We were talking, we went on to, do you want to talk about contracts and sort of splits or any of the logistics?
The only thing that I heard it's a little different. We're 50-50 as well. But we have, the commission splits are different because we use online marketplaces that take commissions as well. So if we sell directly, it's 50-50. And so it needs to be spelled out in the contract that way. You know, we use First Dibs, and they take 18%, you know, of the sale. So yeah, it's not fun, but it helps us. It's helped us reach and sell higher dollar items, works that we wouldn't have been able to connect with that client base because they're across the country. So the artists and I split that 9 and 9. And then also discounts. That would be another thing that we have to have spelled out in the contract as well, is allowing up to so much of a discount, which is 20%, you know, for regular collectors. And that is also another split that we share. From what you said, everything else is pretty standard. But what we found, and it's an evolving document. It's about 2.5 pages now, but because I work with a lot of emerging artists, and because, you know, I'm an emerging gallery, so we're learning as we go too. You know, we're 6 years old, but there's a level of expectations and deliverables that need to be spelled out in order for for us to be successful. And so we've gotten to the point where we've made a timeline in the contract of, 4 months out from the show, this is what I need to be doing. This is what you need to be doing. 3 months out, this is what you do. This is what I do. And then because, you have problems sometimes, and then, an artist could get frustrated because we don't have the success that they're looking, that they wish for a certain reason that, and then you come back and you say, well, I needed to get images for the show 3 months ago, at least 3 images to start the promotion, to start doing things. And if I don't have what I need, I can't do what I do. And so, luckily it hasn't been big problems, but it's been helpful to just really push, this is what we need. And if you're an artist that I work with that's not local, and we can't take the images, because that's what we do for our artists is, because everything is so digital now, we're consistently taking up to 6 images of every piece that comes into the gallery to be able to show it online and people to be able to understand it. But, letting artists know that they have to also, if we can't get the work, they have to provide us those images, or we really have nothing to go with. So, yeah.
Then going, as I curate shows, and so I deal with some of the same logistics of like the timelines. We've got to have this by this time, and I love doing things ahead of time and in advanced, so that you're not last minute, but you can't get the show written about if you're not rolling out the information, a couple of months ahead of time, or, a month ahead of time at minimum. There's all these things that you might not think about unless you've been on the back end of the, gathering and getting ready to the presentation of art. Out of the logistics and paperwork, designing a show, is that something that y'all enjoy doing?
That's the fun part.
That's my favorite part. So what are some of the first things you think about or do when you're, sitting down or starting to design?
Well, so it's easy when you're doing a solo show, right? But that's not my favorite type of show to do. I love doing collectives or group exhibitions, which is so much more challenging. And I don't know if I'm a glutton.
I don't know. I can't believe you're saying that. Wow.
Right, because logistically multiple
punishment. I know.
You like to have all of the hard work. Oh my gosh. Wow.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Timelines, like not getting your artwork like on time. The artist didn't send it, or it's late or lost, or they waited, and it's the week of the show, and the work comes in like on a Monday, the show was that Friday, and you're like, I'm about to have a heart attack. But designing the show, I know I just descriptions better, but it is crazy. It is crazy. I go for so I usually know what theme. Sometimes I'm kind of type A, I'll admit. I usually want to control my themes myself and look and back into that in the artwork. So it's a group exhibition. I look like for Women's Month, I had this thing for Women's Month. It was March, COVID happened, but it still was fine. But it was the women's suffrage, right? 100 years, and I really, really wanted to celebrate that. And I had this thing of was our undoing. That was my theme, and I wanted to find artwork that was not that spoke to undoing, women being undone, and undone has 2 definitions. You can undo something and liberate it, and you can also undo something and cause it to demise. And not allowing women to vote could have gone either way in that whole continuum of undoing. And so I really wanted to push this and find artwork, and I let the women only artists sort of pick which end of this undoing definition they wanted to explore. So definitely not identical work, but some commonality in the overall theme. And so my gallery is pretty huge and large walls and high ceilings. And so it lends itself very well to large paintings. And I am partial to very large paintings because I love the wow effect. Sometimes it doesn't work out. But but um so sizes and um, colors and mediums, I try to find commonalities in those, and um, I would like to make the aesthetic cohesive if possible, but I do love the distinctions. And so, one wall might be, similar in look and style and size. Another wall clearly might not be, but you'll see an overall cohesiveness around it. Um, I always like to remember the educational component since we're about education and mission and teaching our community about different ways of thinking and being. So I always incorporate exhibition text panels and then chat cards also to spark conversation and make people think. Not really telling the people who are looking at the art what it's about, because I don't like doing that. And artists sometimes don't want to tell people what they intended with the piece, and some do. But the chat cards are usually asking a question in general, making people think, what do you think this represents in this painting? I had one artist who used string every single piece of painting. And so, some of the questions were about string and how string connects us and, you know, how this continuum string was used. And so chat cards for that, and then certainly text panels um, um, to explain things or whatever general ideas. Um, so so for me, yeah, the group exhibitions are definitely harder to do that with. I know. And it's so much easier dealing with just one artist when you're building a show, and you're not waiting for three different shipments of artwork to come in from three different artists, and one of them is late, and then you got to totally redesign your show, and wall space and all that. So yeah, I I like
I'm the complete opposite. Yeah. I love solo shows. I just do. And I've been having a lot of group shows because we haven't been open, and the artists have still been creating, since COVID started and all of that. But my space, you can see everything at the same time. When you come in, you can see the entire, the upstairs, the downstairs, you see everything. We don't have a lot of side walls and ability to to kind of take you into a different environment and another part of the gallery kind of thing. So yeah, and definitely because I have another full-time gig, and I have a gallery manager and a gallery assistant, but we're a very small team, very small show, and working with one artist at a time is very much what I'd rather do all the time. Because also too, I work with emerging artists, as I said, some mid-career, but a lot of artists that I work with, I'm giving them their first solo show they've ever had, and it's a big deal for them, and it's something that we really love being a part of. And so, yeah, the day of installation, I think about where, from studio visits, I think about where the work's going to go. But I'd love that day where it gets here and we unwrap it and we're literally just walking around the gallery for a couple hours, moving things around and seeing what works with what and getting excited about it. That is the best part of the job, for sure. Yeah.
Do you, what kind of ratio do you have where the artist is involved in the floor plan of the show versus,
So that's what I didn't know that there was another way. And then I found from other artists that some galleries ask them to not be there when they're in, and I guess that's fine too, but it's not something that I can imagine, because especially if it's your first solo show, don't you want to be a part of that conversation? A lot of times artists will lean back to, let us make the final call because this is our house and what we have, we do this all the time here. But yeah, I can't fathom not having the artist involved in that.
Do you feel the same, Sheila?
I feel the same.
Yeah.
It's harder for me because many of the artists are international, and I will not necessarily can't be here physically, but if when we're installing, and then when they do get here, for those who are able to come ahead of the show, then we'll make, hey, does this look how you wanted it to look? Should we change anything? And so sometimes we do change things, and or I'll send photographs and pictures and things, and so just to involve them, make sure that they're happy with the way everything is presented.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, as an artist myself, love being involved in it, but at times, have taken work and had to present it however it needed to be presented. And I try to be as transparent in that relationship, so that everybody's happy. So how do people or the public buy artwork from you? What are some of your, I guess, bigger sales or ways that you talked about collectors, how do those, I guess, relationships form too? Because that's probably very important to your business.
Well, so the galleries, I guess, on your traditional platforms, we have a website. Because of COVID, I got with my, I use Exhibit E for our gallery, and they're opening a store link for me now online for me to highlight and push many of our xerographs and giclées and lithographs. And so I'll have a store online now, but I've used Artsy before, and I've sold on Artsy. I've used Art Cloud, love Art Cloud because it is free.
That's what we use. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I use so the website, and then of course, I sell a lot of artwork from. I have linear space at the international airport. Sell artwork from the airport. Thank God I have that relationship, because you get access to so many people who are coming in and out of the city that may never see your gallery.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a touch point for me. But the secondary place would probably be online.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly during the pandemic, there's not a lot of people coming physically into the space, but that's going to change. I am open by appointment and on weekends now.
Mm-hmm.
But the last piece I sold last week was from a viewing room. It was from a viewing room. My last two sales were viewing rooms. So I think these people were a part of my newsletter, my collector newsletter. I have two different newsletters. One that's a little higher touch for the collectors, and then the general newsletter database that I have. And the viewing room I love. And also my website, guys, Exhibit E. And the viewing room is so much more interactive. Because let's say, for instance, the collector cannot meet the artist because they couldn't come here to the US, let's just say. But in the viewing room, they get to see the video of that artist, and they get to hear the artist talk, and it's so much more connectivity there. And I'm just gonna plug in my laptop here.
So what exactly is the viewing room?
I want to know too.
Is that part of Exhibit E?
The viewing room is a private space where people go. Anybody can go. You put in your email address and you get access to enter the viewing room. And so it's your private space where you look at art. You might click a link that is audio of the artist talking. You might click a video. So you basically set it up. The gallerist sets it up as a private viewing experience if you have this link. and you scroll through it and you can see the images, you can watch videos of the artist, and you can hear them talk about, whatever. I just had my artist, I'm like, put on some headphones and get your iPhone and just open up your voice recorder and read your bio or talk about yourself and email it back to me. And, we'll upload it and then we'll get a, video or whatever. And so those viewing rooms, it was a big shift, really, really quick pivot to viewing rooms when COVID happened. I mean, I hadn't gotten one before COVID, and I was like, yeah, I'll think about that later. And so then when it happened, I was like, ugh. And then the other thing that we're thinking about getting is 360 virtual exhibitions. I did try one company, but it was not like I wanted it, and so I stopped that subscription. But I don't know if we can talk about like different companies and call their names and stuff, but Matterport, I'm looking at Matterport now. They seem to be pretty reasonable and definitely give a good 360 virtual experience. But yeah, so for me, selling the artwork now has been all about, you know, um, using those newsletters and providing unique experiences for people who don't want to come out to your gallery anymore, because you still have that group of people that, one of my collectors was like, well, I love the viewing room, Sheila, because I am not she lives with her mom lives with her mom's like 90, and her mom still gets around. They both will come to every opening, but she's like, mom's too old, I don't want her to get sick, so we're just going to stay in the house. But we love the links, we love the viewing room, so we're going to keep doing that. And I thought, this is something I'm going to have to keep permanently, because there's still going to be people that would prefer to, be at home looking at things. So
I'm going to ask you questions about that after this or via email. That we've started doing viewing rooms with Artsy, but there's no audio component to it. So I'd love to know more about that myself.
okay.
That's exciting. Yeah, we sell, it's all over the place. It's First Dibs, Artsy, directly through Art Cloud. That's obviously the best because nobody, as you said, takes any commission. It's a direct sale. But for us, the thing that's been happening a little more often, which for me, because like I said, we were only 6 years old here, and disadvantagedly to a degree in East Nashville, where the big crowds don't come when we did have big openings, but people are finding out more and more about us, and our local collector base has been growing the way it should. The way that I didn't have that in the beginning. All I could do was sell on the big online platforms that were worldwide, because that was the only way we could reach people. But we've been building our local, and that's literally, that's the best. That's my favorite way to sell, is when you can build the relationship with the person, and grow it, and have them be continued collectors. But yeah, it's really all over the place. And I wish we didn't have to use the Artsies and the First Dibs of the world. I truly do. And I hope that we don't have to at some point, because it's so much overhead. So much.
It is so expensive. Oh.
So much overhead. And then they take commission too, yeah. So directly is our favorite, but that's great that you use Art Cloud as well. We've liked them a lot. And what we're transitioning into now is putting our website with them, because of the inventory control that way, because in the tracking and the pipeline and it's basically a CRM to keep track of everything, and it's really helpful. And it's I hope they don't raise the price, but it's not astronomically too much per month right now. So yeah.
What's your favorite role in running a gallery? Do you have a favorite role?
I'm an event planner. Let me tell you, I love.
You can come to my world.
I love programming. That's my favorite part. I love it. I love like organizing. Oh, we need this many tables, we need this linen, we need these flowers, we need this, we need that, I love programming. I love, if we're doing films, if we're doing a book signing, I just love the programming piece, the educational piece, thinking through, okay, let's think about what programming are we going to do. I have buckets that I usually go through, and I think, okay, are we going to activate film? Are we going to activate food? Are we going to activate, book signing, literary? What are we going to do? And so that's my favorite. That's my favorite. I guess I love meeting the artists too. I guess that would be my second favorite, is meeting people. But I love planning for the big event, the big day.
Yeah,
I'm a
definitely.
behind the scenes. I like, yeah, the behind the scenes, prepping, hanging, telling people where to hang and what to do. And I love all that.
I'm similar that way too, but definitely my favorite part is the meeting and the relationship building with the artists, and because I promise you, the ones that we are successful with, we're like a family, and that's really important to me. So that's my favorite part, and especially having the first solo show for an artist, and then having 5 years later the fifth solo show with the artists and the community and the artists and us growing together. That's my favorite part. My least favorite part is artwork storage and having to organize that. So Ashley, my gallery manager, does that, thank God, because I can't stand it. I can't stand it. It's the worst.
Yeah, I just want to look at I'll go into art storage and look at the art. I don't want to design or
rewrap and move and no. Yeah.
I just called a company. I think it's somewhere near you. So out in that area to come and help me. Just tear down and rebuild my storage art
who did you end up? Was it? We have art up here.
No,
art handler. You can tell us later.
I'll tell you later. I'll find his name, but I'm gonna look at art up too now that you've given me that name.
And I don't know if he's doing storage, but I would assume he could probably help with that. He does transportation and hanging, logistics, so art handling type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Last question. Tell us one thing you wish you knew starting out that you know now. Just a tidbit, and because we're talking to our college students, these tidbits of knowledge that we all, wish we would have known back then.
Here's what I wrote, because I wrote myself some notes. In college, please network. Get out of your usual clique of friends and your sorority sisters or your frat brothers. Go out and build relationships with your advisor, with your instructors. I remember babysitting for my instructor once. He and his wife wanted to go out. Have those relationships. If you have never visited with your advisor before, shame on you. Go and meet with people. They can help you. These are the older adults who can direct us, can lead us. Be very sure about be sure that you've exhausted your research on what you want to do. Don't just do something because, oh, well, I like this when a teacher said that I was good at math. And so I'm going to be, is that really what you want to do? Or art in this case, is that really what you want to do? And so if you don't know, then meet with an advisor. Do those personal inventories about where your strengths are and what you really want to do. Exhaust all of those opportunities because, you're worth it, right? I mean, and I'm speaking from experience. Guess what my major was in college, guys? Biology and chemistry.
Okay. I was going to say communications.
No. And it was because somebody said something, somebody said, and I didn't I was good at it, but that's not where my heart ever was. And I wished somebody had given me the advice, just be honest with yourself, talk to your advisor, it's never too late to carve a new path. I wish I had gone into business. I wish I had majored in business and got me an MBA or something,
Mm-hmm.
But just make sure you treat yourself well enough and research and investigate. Is this really what I want to do? Let me talk to somebody about it. Let me talk to my advisor about it. Let me send an email and set up a meeting and just vent, or just talk, as just let me have somebody help me. And then if there are any resources or tools out there that can help uncover the discovery of me or who I am, then find those. Because life is so short. You really want to be about living your life you're in your best way, and doing what you love. So definitely networking, meeting people, and building relationships. And that's what I would have told myself to, don't just get up and go to class and come back and go eat and go hang out with your friends. And no, build relationships, meet new people. And preferably these are older people who can be mentors to you.
Yeah, I tell the students, I was like, we will be in your life forever if you use us. Like, we're here to be there for you, as you leave, after you leave, come back.
Exactly.
All these professors, they're on your team.
That's right.
You have to use it. You do have to use it. Katie?
I wish I would have interned in a gallery before I owned one, I didn't, like I said, I fell into it, so it's just been an evolving thing that I've been, and let me make sure, is the question, it's about me, not for students?
Yeah, you.
Yeah. So that's, I've literally learned from every person I've worked with, every artist I've worked with, every gallerist I've had the opportunity to connect with. I am going to be emailing you, Sheila, a bunch of questions, because lots of things that you've said have piqued my interest. So I wish it's just learning as I go, that's what we're doing right now. And also as it relates to the business, I don't have a business background. I'm a salesperson, that's what I've been selling, computer software and artwork for, a good part of my life. I know how to sell, but I don't have that background in business that I wish that I did, because a lot of things would be easier. And I wouldn't have to pay people to do some of these things for me. And so, yeah, that's what I wish I knew before this. But yeah, it seems
Internships, mentorships, right there. Internships and mentorships.
Yeah.
Valuable, very valuable.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, I really appreciate both of you joining us here today. Hopefully this resonates after the fact and reaches the ears of our TSU art and design students as they go on their journey. But I appreciate both of you spending your Friday afternoon here with us here at TSU. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Do we have any questions before I stop recording?
No questions. Looking forward to the next one.
Awesome.